right. So today we're diving into something pretty heavy.
Yeah.
The Post Office Horizon saga.
Oh.
You might be thinking, what does a UK post office scandal have to do with me?
Right.
Well, the thing is, this deep dive is all about extracting valuable lessons from this massive IT failure.
Right.
Lessons that are critical for anyone involved in Ireland's IT industry.
Okay.
We've got excerpts from Wikipedia,
Uh-huh.
a think piece on data regulation,
Okay.
and a breakdown of the key players, all to understand how we can prevent similar disasters from happening here in Ireland.
It's fascinating because it wasn't just a simple software glitch.
Yeah.
You know, this was a systemic failure with huge consequences.
Yeah.
We're talking over 700 sub-postmasters, the people running local post offices, who were wrongly accused and even convicted.
Wow.
Based on faulty data from Horizon,
Okay.
their accounting system.
So this system developed by Fujitsu
Right. Yep.
essentially became the judge and jury, spitting out incorrect figures that led to accusations of theft and fraud and
all sorts of things,
all sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine the stress of being held responsible
I know.
for financial discrepancies that you didn't create.
The human cost was enormous.
Right.
People lost their livelihoods, their reputations.
Oh, my goodness.
Some even faced imprisonment.
Wow.
It really underscores the importance of building systems that are reliable, transparent, and most importantly, accountable.
And what's really striking is that the warning signs were there from the beginning.
Right.
The Wikipedia article mentions that sub-postmasters started reporting problems with Horizon almost as soon as it was rolled out in the late 1990s.
That's a key takeaway right there.
Right.
It highlights the importance of listening to user feedback, especially when it comes to complex IT systems.
Right.
Those who are using the system day to day are often the first to notice when something is wrong.
But instead of investigating these issues, the post office doubled down, insisting that Horizon was flawless.
Wow.
They basically shot the messenger, dismissing the concerns of the sub-postmasters.
And this brings up the crucial issue of organizational culture.
Yeah.
If an organization isn't open to feedback, if they prioritize protecting their image over addressing problems, they create a breeding ground for disaster.
It's almost like they believed the technology was infallible.
Yeah.
That it couldn't possibly be the source of the errors.
And that blind faith in technology is a dangerous trap, especially in this age of AI and increasingly complex systems.
Yeah.
We need to remember that any system, no matter how sophisticated, is only as good as the people who designed it.
Yeah.
And the processes in place to ensure its accuracy.
So it's so important for us in the Irish IT industry to learn from the mistakes of the post office.
Right.
We need to develop a culture of skepticism, of rigorous testing, and above all, open communication with our users.
Think of it this way.
Yeah.
How can we build systems where errors are caught early, where feedback is welcomed and acted upon, where accountability is built into the very fabric of the technology? That's the challenge and the opportunity we face.
So what practical steps can we take to make that happen?
Well,
one thing that jumps out from the sources is the need for robust testing protocols.
Absolutely.
Both during development and after deployment.
Yeah, it's not enough to just test the system in a controlled environment. You need to test it in the real world with real users. And you need to have a process for responding to any issues that arise.
So it's almost like
think of it like building a bridge. You wouldn't just assume it's going to stand up. You'd rigorously test its load-bearing capacity, its resilience to different weather conditions, all of that. Software is no different.
And just like with a bridge, regular maintenance and updates are crucial. The IT landscape is constantly evolving. New threats emerge. New vulnerabilities are discovered. We need to be proactive in addressing these challenges.
And that means having a clear understanding of the system's architecture, its dependencies, its potential weaknesses. It's not just about fixing bugs. It's about continuously evaluating the system's security and reliability in the face of new challenges.
Now, one thing that really struck me about the post office case was how they handled, or rather mishandled, the evidence. They withheld information. Allegedly destroyed documents.
Oh, my goodness.
Even went so far as to threaten the sub-postmasters who were trying to expose the truth.
That's a chilling example of how a lack of transparency can compound a technological failure.
Right.
It underscores the importance of data integrity.
Right.
Of ensuring that data is accurate, reliable, and tamper-proof. And it highlights the need for clear legal and ethical guidelines.
Yeah.
Around data access and use.
So it's not just about having the right technology in place.
It's about creating a culture of accountability.
Right.
Where data is handled responsibly and ethically.
And where individuals feel empowered to speak up if they see something wrong.
Because often it's those on the inside who are best positioned to identify and address potential problems.
So we need to encourage whistleblowing.
Yes.
Create safe spaces for people to voice their concerns. Without fear of reprisal.
Right.
And we need to ensure that those concerns are taken seriously and investigated thoroughly.
Think about the implications for your own work.
Okay.
If you were developing a system that had the potential to impact people's lives,
right,
what safeguards would you put in place?
Okay.
What kind of testing protocols, feedback mechanisms, and accountability measures would you implement?
Those are excellent questions for all of us to consider. Yep. Now let's dive deeper into the specific failings of the Horizon system itself.
Okay.
And see what technical lessons we can extract from this case.
Right.
The Wikipedia article gives a pretty detailed breakdown of the system's architecture.
Yeah.
And the types of errors that led to these wrongful accusations.
Yeah. One of the most glaring technical issues with Horizon was its vulnerability to bugs and errors.
Oh, okay.
The Wikipedia article details how these bugs would often result in these unexplained shortfalls, making it appear as though money was missing from the accounts.
So it wasn't that the system was intentionally malicious.
Right.
It was just poorly designed and prone to these critical errors.
Exactly.
Wow.
And what's worse, these errors were often difficult to trace, making it nearly impossible for the sub-postmasters to prove their innocence.
Right.
Imagine trying to argue with a computer system that's telling you you're wrong, even though you know you've done everything right.
It's a nightmare scenario.
Right.
For anyone working with data-driven systems, this highlights the importance of robust error handling.
Absolutely.
And debugging processes.
We need to design systems that not only catch errors, but also provide clear and understandable explanations for why those errors occurred.
Right.
Think about the error messages you see on your own computer.
Yeah.
Are they helpful?
Sometimes.
Do they guide you towards a solution?
Yeah.
That's the level of user-friendliness we need to be aiming for.
Right. And it's not just about making things easier for users.
It's about building trust in the system itself.
Yeah. If users constantly encounter unexplained errors, they're going to lose faith in the technology.
Yeah.
Be less likely to use it effectively.
And that lack of trust can have a ripple effect throughout the organization.
Right.
If people don't believe the data is accurate, they're going to make decisions based on gut feeling or personal bias.
Right.
Which can lead to all sorts of problems.
The article also mentions that Horizon had very limited audit trails.
Right.
Making it difficult to track down the source of these errors.
Yeah.
From a security perspective, that's a huge red flag.
Absolutely. Audit trails are essential for accountability and transparency.
Right.
They allow you to see who accessed what data, when and what changes were made. Without proper audit trails, it becomes incredibly difficult to investigate discrepancies or to hold individuals accountable for their actions.
So what can we learn from this? How can we ensure that the systems we're building in Ireland have robust audit trails?
It starts with designing the system with auditing in mind from the very beginning. You need to decide what information needs to be logged, how it should be stored, and who should have access to it. And this needs to be done in a way that balances security with usability. You don't want to create a system that's so bogged down in auditing that it becomes unusable.
Another issue that's highlighted in the sources is the problem of remote access to the system. Apparently, technicians at Fujitsu were able to remotely alter branch data.
Oh, wow.
Without leaving a proper record of their actions.
That's a major security risk.
Yeah.
It means that someone with malicious intent could potentially manipulate data without anyone knowing. Or even without malicious intent, mistakes could be made that are difficult to trace back to the source.
So how do we mitigate this risk? Is it even possible to allow remote access without compromising security?
It's all about implementing strong access controls and multi-factor authentication.
Okay.
You need to ensure that only authorized personnel can access the system.
Right.
And that any changes they make are properly logged and tracked.
Okay.
And you need to have systems in place to detect and respond to any suspicious activity.
It sounds like preventing an Irish post office Horizon situation requires a multi-layered approach.
Right.
Robust testing.
Yeah.
Clear error handling. Detailed audit trails.
Right.
Secure remote access protocols.
It's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about the people and processes surrounding it.
Exactly. And it's about having a culture of continuous improvement.
Yes.
Always looking for ways to enhance security, reliability, and transparency.
Right.
Technology is never perfect,
Right.
but we can strive to make it as close to perfect as possible.
Absolutely.
Now, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And look at the broader regulatory landscape.
Right.
The think piece we have raises some concerns about data protection policies and the potential for these policies to be used to shield organizations from accountability.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that data protection regulations strike the right balance between protecting individual privacy and ensuring that organizations can be held accountable for their actions.
The think piece specifically mentions the UK's data bill, which seems to be moving in a direction that weakens data protection.
Yeah.
Rather than strengthening it.
Right.
Is this something we should be worried about in Ireland?
It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Right.
We need to learn from the mistakes of others and ensure that our own data protection laws are robust and fit for purpose.
Okay.
And we need to have strong regulatory bodies that can enforce those laws and hold organizations accountable when they fall short.
The post office case is a stark reminder that technology can be used to empower or to oppress.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to ensure that the systems we're building are used for good.
Right.
That they're fair, transparent, and accountable.
Think about the potential impact of the systems you're working on.
Yeah.
Are they designed in a way that protects individuals from harm? Are there clear lines of responsibility if something goes wrong?
Right.
These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves.
Now let's move on to another crucial aspect of this scandal.
Oh, right.
The way the post office handled the legal proceedings against the sub-postmasters.
Oh.
The article from LBC paints a pretty damning picture of their conduct.
Yeah.
So the LBC article really digs into how the post office, instead of investigating the issues with Horizon, they actually used their position of power to prosecute the sub-postmasters.
It's a shocking example of how an organization can prioritize self-preservation over justice.
Yeah.
Instead of acknowledging the possibility of systemic errors, they doubled down on their belief in Horizon, even when evidence to the contrary was mounting.
And they had this internal legal team that seemed more focused on securing convictions than on uncovering the truth.
Yeah, it's almost like they were trying to silence anyone who dared to question the infallibility of Horizon.
The article quotes a barrister representing the sub-postmasters who said, "It is obvious that the post office had a strategy to withhold material until they were forced to produce it."
Wow.
They were actively trying to bury evidence that could have exonerated these innocent people.
That's a chilling thought. It highlights the need for independent oversight, for checks and balances that prevent organizations from becoming too powerful, too unaccountable.
Absolutely. We need strong regulatory bodies that can investigate these kinds of situations.
Yeah.
That can compel organizations to be transparent and to act in the public interest.
Right.
Think about the implications for the Irish IT industry.
Yeah.
If we're developing systems that are used in legal proceedings, in financial transactions, in healthcare, we need to be absolutely certain that those systems are reliable.
Right.
And that the data they produce is accurate.
And we need to have clear protocols in place for handling disputes.
Okay.
For investigating errors, for ensuring that individuals have a fair chance to challenge the outcomes produced by these systems.
The post office case is a wake-up call.
Yeah.
It shows us that even seemingly benign technologies can have devastating consequences if they're not implemented and managed responsibly.
It's a reminder that technology is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It's up to us, the people who design, develop, and deploy these systems, to ensure that they are used ethically, responsibly, and in a way that benefits society as a whole.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Post Office Horizon saga, what are the key takeaways? What can we in Ireland's IT industry do to prevent a similar tragedy from happening here?
First and foremost, we need to foster a culture of skepticism.
Okay.
Don't blindly trust technology.
Right.
Question assumptions. Test rigorously.
Right.
And be prepared to admit when you're wrong.
Okay.
Second, listen to your users.
Yeah.
They are often the first to notice when something is amiss.
Right.
Create clear channels for feedback and ensure that those channels are taken seriously.
Third, prioritize transparency and accountability.
Yes.
Design systems with audit trails, with clear lines of responsibility, and with mechanisms for independent oversight.
And finally, remember the human impact. The decisions we make about technology have real-world consequences for real people.
Yeah.
Let's ensure that those consequences are positive,
right.
that we use our skills and knowledge to create a more just and equitable world.
Well said. That's a great place to leave it. I think this has been a really insightful look at the Post Office Horizon scandal.
Yeah.
And I hope our listeners in the Irish IT industry can take these lessons to heart.
I hope so too.
And work towards building systems that are truly reliable, ethical, and accountable.
Right.